Good morning. Welcome to the Bloomington Rotary Club's weekly celebration of service. I'm Steve Wicks, and I'm honored to fill in today for our club president, Tracy Jovanovich. Tracy will be back next week. The thought for the day is from Amy Paler. Great people do things before they're ready. They do things before they know they can do it. Bill Oates will have a reflection for today.
As some of you know, I have deep family roots in Kentucky. My favorite writer is Wendell Berry, a farmer in north central Kentucky. In honor of his 90th birthday, which was last month, I'm going to share 3 short passages of his about the earth. Berry had great reverence for the land and nature, and he encourages us to live in nature and being part of nature as opposed to striving to conquer it. Here's what he wrote about a piece of his own land. I go by a field where once I cultivated a few poor crops. It is now covered by young trees, for the forest that belongs here has come back and reclaimed its own. And I think of all the effort I have wasted and all the time, and of how much joy I took in that failed work, and how much it taught me. For in so failing, I learned something of my place, something of myself, and now I welcome back the trees. Wendell Berry left Kentucky in his 20s, studied in France and in Italy, and taught at the New York University. But at the age of 31, he returned to where his family had farmed for 6 generations. And he's been there farming and writing for almost 60 years. Here's another passage that is similar in gestalt to the first. Here in the woods, near the road where the public lives, the birds are at their daily work, singing, feeding their young, as if the road did not exist. Here by the loud road, populous and vacant, there is quiet where birds are singing. The birds are waiting to sing in the trees that will grow in the quiet that will come when the last of the machines has passed burning the world and the burning has ceased. And so am I. I feel some kinship with Wendell Berry because my family also goes back 6 generations in the same county in Kentucky and even intermarried with Berries. So it's no wonder I like Wendell. I'll leave you with one more passage. I leave behind even my walking stick. My knife is in my pocket, but that I have forgot. I bring no car, no cell phone, no computer, no camera, no CD player, no fax, no TV, not even a book. I go into the woods. I sit on a log provided at no cost. It's the earth I've come to, the earth itself, sadly abused by the stupidity only humans are capable of, but ever itself, free, a bargain. Get it while it lasts.
Thank you, Bill. Kyla Cox-Steckard will introduce today's guests.
Hello, fellow Rotarians and guests. I will introduce our guests who are here with us in person today. If you're a guest, when I say your name, if you could please stand so that we could welcome you. We have 4 Rotaractors with us today. Pratik Singh, June Wan, Ahmad Al-Jamal, and Yahya Kader. We also have with us today Jonas Chang, a guest of Michael Shermis. We have Ansley Fender, a guest of Richard Milichuk. And Robert Wolford, a guest of Wendell St. John. Joy, do we have any guests online today?
Hi, Kyla, and hello, everyone. No, we do not. We are just Rotarians on Zoom today.
All right. Well, thank you so much to our guests for joining us. And if you'd like more information about Rotary, ask any Rotarian. They would be happy to invite you again. Thanks.
Thank you, Kyla. We have a couple of birthdays to celebrate. Rosie Levy celebrates today, the 24th, and Joe King has a birthday on the 27th. And then lots of anniversaries. Joe King, 6 years. Cindy Neidhart, 4 years. Bill Perkins, 20 years. Yolanda Trevino, 22 years. Steve Versaw, 1 year. James Wolfe, 22 years. And David Wright, 1 year. Lots of announcements today. We have an active club with active members. Our own Alan Barker leads Bloomington sibling city efforts. The next event is an online town hall conversation between community members in Bloomington and Palo Alto discussing democracy, voter access, and turnout. Take place on Sunday, September 29th between 4 and 5:30 p.m. See Alan or the sibling city's website for more information. Club member Beacon kicking off the public phase of their Light the Way campaign to raise funds and awareness for the construction of the new Beacon Center. This kickoff event scheduled for October 1st. Our club has multiple individuals who are heavily involved with the Beacon project. So for more information, see club members Forrest Gilmore, Amy Kendall, Tracy Jovanovich, Jim Bright, or Jeff Richardson, or go to the Beacon Inc. website for more information. Boys and Girls Club of Bloomington have a fundraising dinner on October 3rd, featuring IU baseball coach Jeff Mercer and Major League Baseball Hall of Famer Scott Rowland. Please support our fellow club members, Jeff Baldwin and past club president Ashley Wesley, by attending the event. You can learn more by going to the Boys and Girls Clubs of Bloomington website. Finally, please remember to purchase your tickets for this year's Rotary Toast on November 1st. Toast, a week ago, received a wonderful write-up in the Herald Times. Remember, the Toast is the biggest fundraising event of the year for our club. Natalie has more information in the back. And now let's do Happy Dollars.
Hello, I am delighted and happy that we celebrated a week and a half ago my daughter's wedding party. They're worldwide adventurers and they had gone on their own and had their vows in Iceland. So all we had to do was have a party. And party we did. But I want to make a special mention of the Bloomington legends, the dynamics. Really made the party and sent a lot of people out with smiles. So these are Happy Dollars for Mr. and Mrs. Kelsey and Ben Hutchins. It'll take me a while to get used to saying that. and the dynamics. They are really quite a treasure for Bloomington.
I have two happy dollars because I am grateful that this baseball season is finally coming to an end for the hapless Chicago Cubs. I have a whole bunch of happy dollars here, but I also have one that isn't really such a happy dollar, but it was a happy dollar to have this person with us for such a long time. One of our longtime volunteers at Teachers Warehouse just passed away, Barbara Marks. And she was a stellar volunteer with us, and we were so grateful to have her. And she mentioned Teachers Warehouse as her primary support area for memorial gifts. So if you're so inclined, you can do that in her name, Barbara Marks. The rest of the happy dollars is for 63 years of marriage in September for me. I have four daughters, and all four of them came to help me move into my new digs at Beltrace. So you will find me there, and I'm happy to see lots of visitors.
This is for my dad. It's his 77th birthday today.
Joy, do we have any online?
Not that I can see, Steve.
Thank you for the reminder. Tomorrow is my son's 60th birthday, and I celebrate him. He's wonderful. He's in California, in Oregon, so he won't be here. But anyway, nice, happy dollars for him, 50.
For our program today, Peggy Frisbee will introduce today's speaker.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we will hear from Tina Peterson about the Community Foundation of Bloomington and Monroe County and how the boundaries of philanthropy are being changed. Change and growth and vision are what Tina has sparked and nourished at the foundation ever since she became president and chief executive officer in 2011, and after heading up the foundation for the Monroe County Schools. As a 10-year member of the board of the foundation starting in 2010, just before Tina joined, and as chair of the board for a while, I have witnessed the changes, growth, and vision which Tina has imagined and brought to reality, and which have elevated our foundation into a state and national leader among community foundations. Tina started off by creating a strong, committed, and caring staff, some of whom are here today. Would you stand? So we have Megan Neese, who is Director of Development and Chief Operating Officer. We have Emily, who is sort of holds things together, right? And then Marcus, who, whatever, who is handling all the programs and grant relationships with the nonprofits. Ding, ding. Together, they continue the foundation's core traditional work of encouraging donations and endowments, building endowments which will support the work of the organizations here in our community and meeting the needs of our community. and for years and years to come. And there's so much more too that has been going on, and that's what we're going to hear about. Under Tina's leadership, our community foundation has become a recognized and sought after incubator, convener, and collaborator on significant issues like housing, regional economic development, and early childhood education. Just a few examples I have witnessed. The foundation created Smart Start, which has made quality early education, childhood education available to children throughout Monroe County. ROI, Regional Opportunities Initiative, which was formed to tackle the need for jobs, job education, and better community quality across the 11-county Indiana Uplands region. CDFI Friendly Bloomington, the first such organization in the nation, which attracts and leverages community development dollars and loans and investments from banks and governments. And Impact Investing, which puts a piece of community foundations dollars to work as loans to organizations here in town. The Community Foundation is an important collaborator on issues of homelessness, affordable housing, mental health, workforce development, and is engaged at the state level as a recognized leader, strategist, and implementer. It's been an incredible, exciting, impactful 13 years under Tina's leadership. So let me introduce you now to Tina Peterson, President and CEO of the Community Foundation and of Regional Opportunities Initiatives. And I hope I don't get this wrong, a committed Texas A&M Aggie. And a wedding planner helper mom for 2 summer weddings, you know, that takes a little bit too. Tina, here you go.
I think she said it all. We could just chat now. So Peggy, thank you so much for the introduction and thank you for inviting me to be here today. It's been a while since I've been here. I hear from Megan pretty regularly about what's happening here, but I haven't had the opportunity to attend a meeting in a while. And it's great to see so many faces. And it's hard not to think about the fact that that bell's as tall as I am. So many people in this room have had a role to play in the success of the Community Foundation. So many people have laid their hands on our work in one way or another. And so it's great to be here to talk about the Community Foundation and to celebrate. I think one of the things that binds our organization to yours, in that maybe kindred spirit, so to speak, is that we have a deep belief in the power of community, right? Community in and of itself is really, I think, the key to success. And in all the different iterations and definitions of community, I think we share a deep commitment. We've been at it less time than you have been, right? Community Foundation, Peggy's right, I've been there for 13 years now, but the Community Foundation itself is 35 years old. Mere babies compared to all of you who have been at this work of community for, I think, 106 years, if I did the math correctly, and you can correct me later if I'm wrong. What a pleasure today to be in a room with people who value community and to talk about some of the things that the Community Foundation has been able to do because of great individuals like all of you, great people committed to the mission, and a community that really values supporting one another and others. I'll start with some real basics here. Community foundations, nonprofits, of course, really focused on how we improve lives of those in a community, and generally focused on a specific geography. That's something we'll talk a little bit about today, about how geography can be unique, given on which community foundation you're aligned with. I think that we think a lot about our organization being focused on how we address our community's pressing needs and take advantage of its compelling opportunities. And we have opportunities to do both in this particular community. So There's a word right there that I'd like to point out, and that word is heart. It says at the heart of all that we do, right, we are focused on the vibrancy of our community. We're focused on making sure that individuals here thrive. We want to make sure that this place that we all call home is really a place where people prosper and where people succeed. And I should say people and organizations. These are what we generally think of as our areas of impact at the Community Foundation. And as I was prepping for this conversation with all of you today, I was just refreshing, my knowledge about Rotary and your priorities. And I looked at your 7 areas of focus, and guess what? They're about the same. There they are. They're very similar, right? Those priorities that we have, right, in supporting community, whatever that community may be by definition, is really aligned well with the priorities of Rotary. Of course, we're thinking about individuals and families, education and learning, economic and community development, which people haven't always thought of as a role of community foundations, but it is more and more today. But then all those other things, right, that make our community unique and significant. Arts, the environment, how we care about animals, youth development, of course. And so a very strong alignment with the priorities of Community Foundation, our focus areas, and those 7 focus areas of Rotary. We like to think, however, in all that we do, we try to put an overlay of innovation. How can we be thoughtful about how we deliver upon our opportunities in a way that not only will advance each of these things, but will create new ways, right, to succeed in each of those areas. This personally, in my opinion, is the most boring slide I'm going to show you. Sorry. But I do think it's an important one, and it really is how we tell the story of community foundations. So there are many community foundations in the United States and across the globe, 900 community foundations, in fact, in the United States. I think there's actually a plus behind that 900, a couple of thousand across the globe. We have a lot in common, but we also have a lot that makes us unique. Some of that is how we deliver on all these 4 different key roles of community foundations. Really, our community foundation began, as I said, almost 35 years ago when 2 people that many of us know or know of, Tommy Allison, who was the mayor at the time, and Herman Wells, who agreed that this community needed a community foundation. You can't separate that decision from the fact that the Lilly Endowment, who has really been our benefactor as community foundations in the state of Indiana forever, agreed, right, that this is what we really needed in communities across Indiana. And so of those 900 plus community foundations in the United States, 74 of them are here, right? We share some commonalities, but we sometimes land in different places, right, on this particular graphic. So for our organization, I would tell you today, and we're just going through some strategic planning to think about what comes next for the Community Foundation at 35. We find that we're working on all 4 of these quadrants. But as we began, we started definitely on the left side. We were very focused on what is it that donors want to do and what is it that agencies need from us, right? Those were the 2 areas that we began, and that's where most community foundations begin, is focusing on what will, not to be really blunt, but what will people give us money for? So what do the donors want to see supported in your community? And then how can we focus on agencies who often deliver upon the impact of the kind of dollars that we have to give? And so we began there, but as our work began to grow and people began to have deeper relationships with us and trust in what we did, we were able to move into more of these different types of grant-focused areas. We had the resources, it allowed us to be very thoughtful about how we deploy dollars, and then move as we began to develop a deeper understanding of what our community needed at any given point in time, actually, to think about what are those roles we need to play that others may not be able to play or others aren't willing to play, that a community foundation can step in and support through leadership-focused initiatives. And I'll talk to you about all of those things today. But it's through grant making and leadership that we can really accelerate the trust that's been given to us by donors, right? The dollars that they've supported us with, and then also to help agencies maybe grow and deliver upon their work. Really, we always start the story of community foundations with this idea of endowment building. I want you to know that that's not how we support the story, how you begin the story everywhere in the United States. Not all community foundations are primarily endowment focused. In Indiana, we almost all are. And that's because the Lilly Endowment really birthed so many of us. There were a few community foundations before 1990, but not very many. We all developed about the same time. And they gave us funding to grow sustainable long-term impact through endowment. And so we think of endowment, right, as the very simple formula for how you create long-term sustainable support for your community. People give you a gift. You endow that gift. You never touch it again, right? You invest it well and wisely. Our investment consultant is one that we identified a number of years ago that really helps us be thoughtful about how in the ups and downs and flows of the market, how we can continue to be consistently successful in deploying dollars in our community. And consistently successful is a big part of the way we calculate how we distribute dollars. And then finally, right, as those funds earn money, then we distribute them back to whatever purpose was established for that particular fund. It's a pretty simple formula, and it's the one that undergirds almost all community foundations in the state of Indiana. This is what we do. We raise money, we invest money, we distribute money. It's a pretty simple formula, and it is a lot of how we have, as community foundations, developed and grown our capacity. It's not the only way we do it. Okay, I'm going to go to this one now, but I didn't think I was. So one of the ways, right, as I talked about agencies and how we really realize impact with the work we do is by supporting nonprofit organizations across our community. We do that in a couple of ways. One of them is by helping them build endowments. And so how do you build long-term sustainable support, not only for the community foundation, but for each of the organizations, right, that really delivers in our community? And so when we look at this list, these are all of the organizations, the nonprofit organizations in our community that have at some point in our history established an endowment fund. That means they also get a check from us every single year, unless they tell us they don't want it, which doesn't happen very often. So generally, we're going to give a distribution to all 70 plus of these organizations every year in the fall. After we get our audit done and we make sure everything is proper, we're going to write them a check. Generally, they can do whatever they want with that, as long as it's charitable and legal, is what we say. That is a big part of what we do, is empower those organizations that deliver, right? We are, for the most part, not a direct services organization. We are empowering others to accomplish significant things. And so we're really proud to be the home of a fund for so many different nonprofits in our community. Okay. We feel really strongly about growing nonprofit capacity, and we do that in a number of ways. I'll think about one this week, right? We convened a group of nonprofits, actually all represented on this slide, to hear from an expert from the School of Philanthropy in Indianapolis, an attorney, about planned giving. Right? So how do we help each one of these nonprofits and others in our community grow their resources, grow their capacity, so that they aren't necessarily always dependent upon, right, charitable dollars and that annual campaign and all of those things that are a part of their everyday lives. So this year we decided to do something that we've not done before in this way. We decided that we wanted to support nonprofits in growing their endowments. And so we committed a portion of our unrestricted dollars, and we invited competitively a group of nonprofits to apply. I invited basically any nonprofit to apply, right, that has an endowment fund or is interested in starting one. And we gave them the opportunity to engage in a campaign. They could raise anywhere from 20 to 50. $1,000, and I look at them because they know I'm so bad with zeros. I leave them off all the time. I could have told you it was 50 million, not 50,000. And then we also gave them $10,000 to support their own capacity during this period of time. And so collectively, each of these organizations this year, they have to be done by next June, has the opportunity for a one-to-one match from us to grow their endowments. We think it's a really important investment to make in those organizations that are really making a difference in our community. If you look at this, you'll see they really are representative of our community. The logos are kind of small, but we've got 7 basic needs organizations, 3 education and youth focused, 3 arts, 3 environment, 1 focused on animals because we do love our pets, and 1 that I don't know how to define. So it's focused more on communication. So excited about this opportunity. If any of these organizations are meaningful to you personally and you want to help them hit a big goal this year, reach out to them, look at their websites. They're all trying to raise some money this year, doing a really good job, but some of them still have work ahead of them. Really, as I mentioned earlier, we can't do any of this work without donors. Donors have many different faces, many different purposes, many different ways that they approach a philanthropy. Some of them are just moved, right, to support others. And in that process, they inspire others. Other people want to give where they live, but not only where they live, they want to give across a variety of purposes in communities that are meaningful to them. So we do support through some of our donors and their donor advised funds, gifts to nonprofits across the country. We've not given anything outside of the United States, but we've given money through donor advisors to many, many different nonprofits in the United States. We know we are confident in doing that because Marcus does the due diligence on every single one of them to make sure that they're eligible to receive charitable funding. And then there are people that are really wanting to build philanthropic priorities for their family and to invest in their children, a commitment to giving back. And so we have quite a few families that have started funds and then, of course, engage them. As I'm not sure all those folks are old enough yet to be making decisions about how they use their philanthropic dollars, but they will be one day, and they will have watched their parents, right, make those decisions and give back to others. My family we have a few funds at the Community Foundation, but one of them is a family fund, and we try to sit down at Thanksgiving every year and vote on what we will use to support the distribution from our fund that year. I want you to know I never win. I think I'm an expert in this field, but never is it my choice who we give the money to, which is great that they have that many opinions and thoughts about what we should support with our philanthropic dollars. That was the big goal. The way we use all of these dollars through grant making strategies, which is one of our priorities, is in a number of different ways. We always, as we mentioned, do competitive grants. Not always, but pretty regularly we do competitive grants. In the last 5 years, we've given 44 grants totaling just close to 1.5 million to a host of different organizations that applied to us for funding and competed in an opportunity. We also, though, are not just waiting for people to come to us and tell us and allowing us to react to their needs. We are also being thoughtful about how we should be proactive. What are those things out there that we are watching, that we see would be meaningful for the Community Foundation to support? A couple of examples I'll give to you would be the Stride Center. We were one of a handful of donors. We put about $210,000 over a 3-year period into the development of the Stride Center. We felt it was critical. We supported over a 5-year period the splash pad at Switchyard Park. We loved the idea of creating community there and bringing people together, and so we were happy to be part of that. Recently, I think one we feel excited about, not that we aren't excited about all of them, was a recent grant to Community Kitchen to sort of complete their fundraising to allow them to create that express facility in Crestmont, which I know so many people are excited about. And then finally, we have year after year after year, every year we give money to both MCCSE and Richland Bleed Blossom schools for a parent liaison that works with families of children that are in early care and education, preschoolers primarily. We also, though, really want to think of other ways to support the capacity of local nonprofits than to give them a grant to do something. And so an example of some things we've done there is recently we supported the Envision Ellisville strategic planning process as they were thinking about how can we be more, where do we want to go as a community. We supported, have always been so proud that we were able to support Volunteers in Medicine as that became a federally qualified health clinic. We were able to do the viability, to fund the viability analysis they did for that transition into that organization. We helped 3 organizations to become Constellation through a number of grants to support consulting over a number of years. And then we've done, and I'll talk more about it later, a lot to support New Hope for Families and the variety of work that they do there. And so thinking about grant making in these different ways is important to us. Sometimes you don't think of a grant as a scholarship, but in our world, a scholarship is a grant. We don't give a lot of them. There are a lot of organizations in this community that have the capacity to do that, but we have a number of them, we focus really on larger scholarship funds that really do make a big difference for young people and families across our community. We are also the entity that awards the Lilly scholarships every year on behalf of Lilly Endowment and the Indiana Colleges of Indiana, and we are inspired by that process every single year. In total now, just thinking about this work we've done and the work that we've traditionally done, we have in our history now developed 290 unique funds, all of which were established by some person or entity that distributes money pretty much on an annual basis. Some of them, a few of them, are non-permanent and they may do it more regularly than that. We've had 6,000 donors, and you can see where we are in assets. We've given away almost as much money as we have in assets, right, over the years at this point to more than 400 organizations, most of them, the vast majority of them here. But when we start thinking about expanding the boundaries of philanthropy, which is really what I wanted to talk to you about, there are many other ways, right, that we can create impact in our community rather than just straight grant making, which is incredibly valuable, don't get me wrong. So I just want to talk to you about a few others, and we'll walk through a few more slides so that you can see some of these, but I'm going to check my time. Monroe Smart Start. One of our key programs that started, right, as Peggy said, right as I began, I am not going to tell you anything about it other than if you don't know about it, you'll be wowed. You'll be wowed when you hear what Monroe Smart Start is doing. And I know Jennifer's coming to talk to all of you, so I will not steal any of her thunder. But I tell you, this has been such impactful work for us, and I'm sure she'll talk about the fact that no longer is this just work we're doing in Monroe County. This is work we're doing across an 11-county region. That is part of how we're expanding our boundaries. We are not interfering with what other community foundations are doing. We are partnering with them, but we're also bringing resources that they could not access to their communities. We, of course, are so proud that we were able to establish some giving circles in Bloomington. We used to have 50 men who care and 100 care who women, 100 care who women, 100 women who care. How about that? We can put it in any order you want. And so they continue, right? The women continue to meet 4 times a year to collectively deploy dollars in a meaningful way in our community, and we are so excited about that. New Hope for Families. This is one that we have just really had the opportunity to support in a number of important ways. Obviously, we've made some grants to them. We have funded strategic plans and different strategies like that. But we've also made loans to them. That's something new that not all community foundations do. But as part of our asset allocation strategy, we often look for opportunities to support organizations in different ways. So instead of investing some money from our portfolio into some fixed income opportunity, we will invest in a local loan to an organization and get a small interest rate return on them. It's just fine for our portfolio. CDFI Friendly Bloomington is one we're super excited about. This is one that we've been incubating, as Peggy talked about. Helped design it originally as a new strategy, really focused on smaller communities. How do we bring creative capital to support underserved populations? in communities, really through creative use of capital by connecting local people to community development finance institutions across the country. Heading home is one that we've been deeply invested in since COVID really is when we began the leadership work and thinking about how are we going to address challenges. And that's really not true because we supported the first Heading Home plan in 2013. We have been very focused, and this is becoming more of a focus area for us right now. In fact, we just completed with some partners over a $7 million grant application to the Lilly Endowment to bring in more case management supports across our ecosystem to deal with sort of the overpopulation we find right now in our community of people that need support, that have housing insecurity issues. I won't talk a lot about this one, but the Upland Science and Technology Foundation is one that we serve as a fiscal sponsor for. It's focused on developing the technology park that's right outside Westgate at Crane. And it is an entity that we helped to develop and continue to support. Next, I want to talk just a little bit about our biggest partner organization. Regional Opportunity Initiatives is now an eight-year-old organization. It was established really with work that began almost as soon as I started at the Community Foundation in 2011. I think it was 2012 when we began this work. This organization does cover 11 counties. It's focusing on how we bring economic and community prosperity to a region that has incredible assets, but low post-secondary income, low per capita income, and too much out-migration. ROI is an organization very close to us. We are considered the parent according to the IRS, so they are a supporting organization of the Community Foundation. We share office space, we share staff. I'm the president and CEO of both organizations. Our controller works for both, our marketing person works for both. We have just developed a very strong relationship because what's good for Monroe County is what's good for the region, and what's good for the region is what's good for Monroe County. And so we've worked very closely with this organization. We have been very focused on how we drive high-paying jobs to drive up per capita income in our region, which is incredibly too low. And so much of our work is focused on talent, on place, and opportunity in these 11 counties that we call the Indiana Uplands. I will tell you that we have been successful in bringing significant dollars into this particular region. Bill asked me about this earlier. We are the organization that receives the READY dollars, the Indiana Economic Development Corporation's Regional Economic Acceleration and Development Initiative dollars. To date, we've gotten $60 million from the state to focus anchor projects that will drive economic opportunity, to focus on housing, and to focus on quality of place in meaningful ways. And so we are spending down the first 30 million, just got the second 30 million, which we will be beginning to deploy at the beginning of the year. In addition, ROI has brought in over $30 million from the Lilly Endowment into our region, in addition to the funding that they provide to the Community Foundation. Megan she shared with us that we've successfully met the most recent match from the Lilly Endowment to grow our unrestricted dollars so that we can continue to do this kind of work. This is here. I'm going to share the slides if you guys want to share the slides, but this is part of the story of our region. No community is more central to this success than Monroe County, but this is how we think about this region on the rise, the 11 counties and the Indiana Uplands organized around 4 employment centers, one of the biggest being right here in Monroe County, and how we are creating an environment that will allow us to keep, attract, and excel here in our part of Indiana. And I know that my time is up, so I'm going to stop talking.
Wow, so much. We do have time for just a few questions, so raise your hand and Michael will find you.
Tina, thank you so much for being here today. Thank your teammates for being here today, and thank you for your outstanding leadership of our Community Foundation. One thing that's of importance to me is preservation and strengthening of our democracy. And I think there are at least three pillars that hold that up. One is public education, and you certainly play a role in that. Rule of law, and a strong independent news media.
Mhm.
And again, it's good to see your team members here today, but I know I appreciate Betsy Trotsky is busy planning a session for tomorrow on the news media part of it. Without stealing her message tomorrow, can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing to strengthen the news media pillar of democracy?
Yeah. I mean, we feel strongly about, and I'll go back to where I began this conversation about the importance of local news and media in building and sustaining community. We think it's very hard, right, for community to share values and share, strategy if they aren't sharing news as well. And so it was really something that was called to all the attention of all community foundations and their CEOs a number of years ago by the Lilly Endowment, that where we as people, where the values that we hold dear as people and Americans really is vested in your local communities. And no, we don't always hear about that anymore because we don't hear local news. We hear mostly national news. And so we have been working for a number of years now with local news organizations. We've made a few introductory grants to organizations, but we recognize that there needs to be a bigger solution here. And so tomorrow we will have, alongside our partners at IU Media and Ostrom Workshop, we will have a discussion with local news, with the press club, with the Community Foundation Board, and others about what it is local news should look like in our community. We recently completed a survey. We know what people hear locally, and thank you to IU, the survey folks, for helping us not only put together that survey, but then to analyze the results. And so tomorrow we'll be talking about, we'll be hearing from some folks at IU about what the current state of news is. We'll be talking with some national experts that can share with us what strategies are being put in place across the country to address the lack of local news. Much of that is often a philanthropic response. And then what are our local stakeholders telling us that we need related to local news? And the goal for tomorrow is to begin a conversation with key stakeholders locally and thinking about what strategies are we going to pursue? How are we going to make progress? How are we going to address this sort of gap that we have that I think is critical, right, to us as humans, as community, as people that share values? So that's in the nutshell one of two pretty significant leadership initiatives we have right now. I mentioned one earlier that's about how we're going to address the issues of housing insecurity, and we're looking at that through many different lenses. One of them, that idea of case management and heading home, but other lenses as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Tina. I was there when this was born, when Community Foundation was born, and the question then was, what role will United Way play, and what does it do now? And I also have a related question.
Okay, I caught the question was about United Way and what role they play overall in the community.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, I think United Ways and community foundations are great partners, right? I mean, I think if you look historically, that United Ways are focused very specifically, for the most part, or have been specifically focused on some of those basic needs and extension of those basic needs, and work very closely with those nonprofit organizations that are focused in that area. They do it in a different way than we do it. They provide funding in a different way than we do, but I like to think of that work as complementary. Right now, United Way and the Community Foundation have really been partners in launching some of the housing-related strategies. And so I think we each bring something different to the table, Charlotte, but I think, of course, there's a role for both. That help?
Any questions online?
I don't think so, Michael.
Another question was the Beacon initiative now. What role are you playing in that? The Beacon initiative.
Right. So Beacon is an organization that I think has been deeply engaged in all the work we've been doing around housing security. So we often sit at the same table together as we're trying to think about solutions. We have been talking with them over the years and supported them in their process in their current facility and in thinking about their next facility. They haven't talked to us about their capital campaign yet, but I think like New Hope, there are some strategies that we can put in place to support what they're trying to accomplish. I sat next to Forrest last night. Some of you may know that we're the only Built for Zero community in the state of Indiana. Built for Zero is a strategy for how you approach achieving functional zero for those with housing insecurity. So how you take one population at a time and you move all of that entire population towards housing security, and then you begin to focus on the next one. It's a very data-driven approach. They bring a lot of tools to the table. And so I sat between Emily and Forrest last night at the dinner with the Built for Zero folks who are here today, and we'll be convening some conversations tonight. But I think of Beacon as one of a handful of organizations, right, that has such a key role to play. And should we get that grant from the Lilly Endowment that we pursued, we would be embedding some case management within their organization. They would work for Heading Home, but they would be embedded in a variety of organizations to work specifically with individuals on issues related to housing.
Hopefully, if there are any more questions, Tina can stay afterwards.
I will.
So Tina, thank you. I don't know if it was planned this way or worked out this way, but I saw lots of Rotarians in your various slides, so thank you. In your honor, Tina, a donation we made this quarter to New Leaf, New Life. And now Peggy and Kyla have a presentation to make.
My mic.
Is there a mic?
I have no idea what's about to happen.
Surprise. Tina, we have a special presentation which our club would like to do in recognition of your service to our community, the Indiana Uplands region, and beyond. Kyla, who is a member of your Community Foundation Board and a leader in our club, is joining me here. So you might know that Rotary's motto, its guiding principle, is service above self. You exemplify service above self in your many, many years of service, first to our community schools through its foundation and through Regional Opportunities Initiative to the 11 county Indiana Uplands regions, and in particular through the Bloomington and Monroe County Foundation to our own community. Today, we want to recognize you for all you do by naming you a Paul Harris Fellow. Paul Harris founded Rotary in 1905 with 3 business associates. Rotarians designate a Paul Harris Fellow to recognize another person whose life demonstrates a shared purpose with the objectives and mission of Rotary. Tina, you were selected to receive this recognition because our club believes that your life exemplifies the humanitarian and educational objectives of Rotary. Therefore, it gives me great pleasure to present to you on behalf of our club and the trustees of the Rotary Foundation this pin and certificate of Paul Harris Fellowship. Please accept our congratulations and sincere appreciation for your commitment to our common goals of humanitarian service and education. Members and guests, please stand to congratulate and recognize our newest Paul Harris Fellow.
Thanks. Okay. Okay, great. I should have warned you. Okay, thank you. Wait.
Congratulations, Tina. I'd like to acknowledge all the people who made this meeting happen. Natalie Blaze, our administrative assistant. Steve Moberly greeted members and guests this morning. Kyla Cox Deckard introduced guests and helped with the Paul Ferris presentation. Peggy Frisbee introduced Tina and also handled the Paul Harris presentation. Joy Harder was our Zoom host today. Bill Oltz did our reflection. Greer Carson is our reporter this month. Michael Shermis as our camera mic operator, and Tyler Martin Nichols as our Zoom and audio producer. Our next meeting will be on October 1st here in the Frangipani Room. Our speaker will be Jennifer Myers discussing Smart Start and why early learning matters. Tyler, can we share the graphic for the four-way test? You could stand and please join me. Of the things we say and do, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And fifth, is it fun?